Okay. Ashley, ready in 5 minutes. 10 kilograms of ounces. I'm muted. Yes, I am.
How many questions?
The second one.
25?
NPTA. Are you doing the NPTA?
Yeah,
Which chapter?
module 2. 2.
3 is math. What's 2?
Sterile products certification.
I think there's a lot of typos. What do you mean sterile product certification?
That's the name of the title.
Like ISO classes for the bug room, clean room, and the proper way to gown and wash hands. Yeah.
Gotcha. So donning. Okay, stereo. Which was supposed to be the answer yesterday, right? In the
Yes.
in Ellie's question, and you just did that
I
yesterday.
just did it on Monday.
Oh,
I know. It's good. She was
It's
on
okay.
the spot. Yeah.
She was more concerned about how she's gonna.
She's gonna be perceived. That's nothing to do with her. Us.
Oh, yeah. We just wanted her to say that this is what we're doing, and as a proof, it came from students, you know, their words, not ours.
Okay. That's okay.
Ready, 5 minutes? No, I'm wrong. 1 minute. Start getting cleaned up and
Julie, can you turn the light off?
we'll get ready. Since no one's new, I'll do this differently this time, especially for Edwin. You taking a quiz?
Yeah, that's what you said right now.
So you didn't hear me teasing you.
Yes, I can't see.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 95.
95?
Yeah.
How many hours now till you can retake it? Still 3 hours or an
I
hour?
didn't even know that.
You can retake it if your score is less than 70. And then it records your higher score. Okay, but I think you have to wait an hour to 2 hours before you can retake it. Unless with the new system that they have, I mean, they changed that. I remember when I took that to get my certificate, I wanted it to be straight like 100 or 90. I got a 90. And I got a 95. I wasn't happy. I took it again, I got a 90. So don't aim for perfection, aim for excellence and progress.
Is it
Right?
So 1 hour. You guys can put half an hour for gowning up and cleaning up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
Jane
would
and
have
all
to
the
take
1 hour.
2 attempts. I don't know what's after that.
Yeah. Okay, switch your brains, time for math. Turn it off and turn it on, reboot. It's gone. What did Mr. Lopez say? It takes 20 minutes for your brain to adjust from one major task to another. And I think that's true. It's based off of a study.
Yeah, that's why you should not text and drive at the same time.
Correct.
You guys are not doing that, okay?
I'm trying to get the spot. See, right now, why is it the first? It doesn't do this before. I wonder why my Zoom records in reverse right now. Ready? Especially for Edwin. This review is especially for Edwin. I had some brain fog yesterday and forgot to publish this. Good morning, pharmacy. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so today the topic will be weights conversion. Okay, all of these units are in weights. Okay, this is a review. There's no new students, so it's just a review, especially for Edwin. Are you getting annoyed, Edwin? Get us our masks still, okay? So kilograms, grams, milligrams, micrograms are all measurements of weights. Weights of drugs, weights of your active ingredients. You're doing compounding right now, right? So these are measurements of powder. Can be measurements of powder, okay? Like milligrams, grams, you're doing that, you're weighing cornstarch, you're weighing, what else are you weighing? Smarties? Sugar, you're weighing sugar, which represents different drugs or different active ingredients in that particular texture, okay? So, because some active ingredients or some drugs are in fine powders and some are coarse, like salt or sugar texture, okay? All of this are in what system? They're all in metric, you have to remember that, okay? Some reminders that I keep repeating, okay? Abbreviation for gram can be a couple of things. Capital G, lowercase g, capital G, lowercase m, and lowercase gm. Before I just write grams in G, and then my students at the state kept telling me, Professor Lerner, there's something that came up on the PTCE, and I said, what is it? GM, and our professor, because I don't teach math, okay? I teach other classes, and our professor told us that grams is only G, so we didn't know that GM is also grams. Okay, so I have to mention that now, that on the PTCE, they may use G, but most of the time they use GM for grams, okay? Which I'd like you to remember, GM is different from GR. What's GR? Grains, okay. One more thing, one more reminder. See, I learned these things from my students and I pick it up from them and then I share it. Like I pass it on to you so you don't commit the same mistakes. Sometimes it's my mistake and I pass it on to you so you don't commit the same mistakes. But most of the time we're stubborn and we try to commit the mistakes even if they say don't do it. You know why? Because we don't listen, okay? We want to get into that mistake before we listen. And sometimes we're even more stubborn. We get into that mistake 3 times, 4 times, 5 times before we finally say, finally, I'm listening, okay? I'm learning, okay? We don't learn a lesson right away. So another thing, when you go this way, right? So kilograms to grams, grams to milligrams, milligrams to micrograms. Micrograms, another thing, but they don't use this anymore. This was about 10 years ago. One of the students came to me, and I think I told you this. I don't know if you remember, okay? He said, Professor Lerner, there's something that came up on my PTCE. And I said, what is it? The letter U and the letter G. I said, it can't be. There's no such thing. There's no UG as a unit of measurement. And then I realized this apparently is the symbol mu in the letter G. Okay. I think they're scared of their professor in math. That's why when they get to I teach compounding, I teach insurance. While I was still teaching at CSN, I teach computer applications. But compounding was my major class there. We have compounding for 3 hours, but they only see me once a week. Okay. So he mentioned, you know, we didn't learn this from Professor X. Okay, I'll just say Professor X. Okay. I said, that's the symbol for mu. Okay. And this one is actually, this means micrograms. Okay. That's why TJC said, okay, they do not use this anymore. Why? It can be confused with what? mg, milligrams. You follow? Because the symbol mu and the letter G is microgram. So what did TJC say? Do not use the symbols mg, hint, hint, wink, wink, PTCE reminders. Do not use the symbols mg and mcg. Okay, what did TJC say instead? What do you do? Spell it out, okay? Hint, hint, wink, wink, again, PTCE. So it has to be spelled out milligrams and another spelling micrograms. Okay. How's it gonna come out on your PTCE? I keep saying this, right? Say for example, you calculated a problem already and you came up with an answer 45 milligrams. Just as an example, okay? It's a multiple choice question with 4 options. So your chances of getting it right is 25%, right? Okay, so 45 milligrams, final answer. You calculated, you're good at math, you did it wrong, but here are your options. Here's when it gets tricky. A, B, C, D. Okay. A would be 45 mg. B would be, what do you want B to be? 45.0 mg. C would be 45.00 mg. And D would be 45 milligrams. Which one is the best answer? D. It should be D because, what did we say? Drop that trailing 0, right? Do not forget your leading 0. Why is this not a possible answer? Because according to TJC, we should not use mg symbol anymore and mcg. They're actually telling this to the prescribers to avoid what? Medication error, to avoid dispensing error, okay? You will not have these problems in the hospital setting because prescriptions are computerized, typewritten, computerized, okay? But in retail, you still have to use what? Handwritten prescription. You'll still receive handwritten prescriptions, retail or closed door settings, okay? More on a community pharmacy setting. You have to remember this. I kept talking about TJC. Who is TJC? What does TJC stand for? You know? The Joint Commission, okay? They used to be called JCO, which we don't use in them anymore. Okay? Who is this? I keep talking about ABHES and ASHP, right? They're their version. Okay, that's the hospital's version of ASHP for us, the one who accredits her school, or ABHES, the one who accredits her school. So TJC is the accrediting body for hospitals. They check everything, quality of your service or patient care. They check the cafeteria menu, employees, cleanliness, okay? So you will hear if you work in a hospital, you'll hear TJC's here or coming, or audits coming, or the commission is here. Okay, there's so many audits, not just from TJC, but you have the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy, you have DEA, you have all of this. So don't go paranoid, just like we had before. And oh my God, there's something illegal in my pharmacy because there's this audits, and there's going to be a lot of audits. Okay, just so you know. Okay, here we go. These are just reminders and some tips for the PTCE. Okay. They will try to catch you on this one if you know the rules. That's why I keep incorporating the rules. So I said, I'm going to discuss this differently and most especially for Edwin. What do I say when it comes to conversion? I always tell you, do not multiply. do not divide. Yeah? Why? Now you make it 50-50 chance for your patient. Because sometimes, I've been teaching for 13 years now. This is my 13th year teaching. And I notice when I get test papers, I'll get the smartest students, very, very good in math. But there will be one day when they multiply something when it needs to be divided, and they divide something when it needs to be multiplied. And that can be in math terms, it's just one mistake. But in patient care terms, that's one life. Okay? That's one life. If you multiply something when you're supposed to divide, what happens? Overdose, underdose? Underdose. When you multiplied something, overdose. By how much? If it's milligrams, micrograms we're talking about. 1,000 times overdose, which is exactly the case that happened in Summerlin Hospital, which is close to home, right here in Vegas, right? Okay, name of the baby is Alyssa Shin. You can look it up if you haven't done your law class, but we did cover it during our law class. Okay, there was a baby who died. Instead of being given micrograms of zinc, she was given milligrams of zinc. And that's 1,000 times overdose. What do you think happened to the baby? Yeah. Yes, the baby's dead. What do you think happened to the parents?
They're angry.
They're angry, of course, yeah. But then later on, the parents separated because they said they got no more reason to stay together. Okay, and there's a background to that story too. That baby is quote unquote a miracle baby. Remember the story, Jaylene? Yeah. Why was Alyssa called a miracle baby? The mom had difficulty getting pregnant, and there were 2 miscarriages, and then finally came Alyssa. You don't want to be on that end where you're the one who prepared or dispensed that prescription. Let me tell you this, it's not a pharmacy technician error though, initially. It's a pharmacist. Okay, so don't think that pharmacists don't commit mistakes. It's not always technician. Pharmacists can commit that mistake, so don't think of it that way. Okay, and do not just rely on your pharmacist to be doing the right thing all the time, doing the right calculation all the time. You are partners. You have to have your pharmacist's back, and they'll have to have your backs. You understand? Okay, when I walk in a pharmacy and I have to do a student eval or an inspection, whatever it is, I feel so proud, like a proud mama. Okay, when they say, your student caught a possible medication. Why? You're not going to take that against you. They'd be happy that you did it. They'd be happy that you called them out. You know why? You just saved them from a possible lawsuit. You just saved them from possibly dispensing somebody that can overdose a patient. Okay? So I always talk about this during math. Okay? Math is not the only reason why we have medication errors, though. Remember, we talked about understaffed, overwork, okay, which is one of the major ones, okay? Because healthcare workers are exhausted, especially during the beginning of the pandemic. Okay? So going back, that's why I strongly say and recommend to not use multiplication or division when converting. What are the 2 ways I tell you to do? Dimensional analysis or ratio proportion. I'm not going to go over the prefixes like kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centimeter, micro, nano, pico. We've done that already. But as I was driving today, like what I said, I always reflect while driving, 20 minutes of reflection. I was thinking of Edwin, and I was thinking, oh, you're special today, because I was thinking about you while I'm driving. I said, okay, I'm going to teach this particular topic differently for Edwin so he never forgets. Okay, sometimes we have those moments like a bad hair day for us. And for Edwin yesterday, it was a brain fog or a brain fart, like you call it all the time. So, okay, here we go. Remember I told you while I was in pharmacy school, I always write these 3 conversions on my test paper, okay? And I put it in a box, so I don't forget. A kilogram is to 1,000 grams, 1 gram. I do the abbreviation, okay, because it's for me. Okay, I'm not writing the prescription. Okay, it's a different story when you are to write the prescription. Okay, 1 gram is to 1,000 milligrams, and 1 milligram is to 1,000 micrograms. Those are symbols. I know that we're not supposed to use them, okay, in a prescription, but this is for me. This is my cheat code. I write it right away on my test paper, right here. I don't want to use multiplication and division because of just the story that I just told you. So we limit it to ration, proportion, and dimensional analysis. Can you follow? Okay, so here we go. You know, when I started teaching 13 years ago, I would put in here times 1,000, times 1,000, times 1,000. And at the bottom, divide 1,000, divide 1,000, divide 1,000. Okay, if you can watch like past videos that I recorded, I still mention that. Now I don't anymore. Did you notice that? Because I want you to stick to this too. And that's how I can help you and how you can help prevent medication errors. Okay, so be part of that. Don't contribute to that. What did I say in my welcome to the program video? How many millions of medication error happens every year? 1 point, according to the FDA. It's increased now because that stat was in 2016, I think. 1.2 million every year, okay? 20,000 deaths. Right? So it's changed now, it's increased now. How do you think, why do you think it increased during the pandemic? Right? Same reasons. Exhausted healthcare workers, overworked, understaffed, on top of education. So let's go back. Dimensional analysis, ratio, proportion. I have here 3 kilograms. Okay. 3 kilograms convert to grams. That is a question. Okay. If I do ratio, proportion, do not multiply, do not divide. Okay. Because there's just one extra step by doing ratio, proportion, or dimensional analysis, and it validates that you multiplied, that you have to multiply or you have to divide. Okay, so just do that extra step. Okay, 3 kilograms to grams. 3 kilograms to grams. Let's do ratio and proportion first. This is very important. Okay, and I did this last sequence as well. Slow down, because when I saw your quizzes, there were 2 students who were flip-flopping ratio and proportion and dimensional analysis. Okay. With ratio and proportion, let's do ratio and proportion first. With ratio and proportion, you go here right away. I don't like this, dying. With ratio and proportion, you go to your, I call this conversion factors, okay? With ratio and proportion, the first thing you do, go to your conversion factor. You need kilograms to grams, so you go here, okay? Step 1, a kilogram is 1,000 grams. Follow? Equals, this is very important, that if it's ratio and proportion, you put equals because it's proportion, right? Whatever you get answered here should be proportionate to the one on the right. That's why this has to be equals. This is when the problem happens with ratio and proportion and dimensional analysis. Okay, step 2, what do? You look at the problem, right? 3 kilograms. So where do I put the 3 kilograms that's given? On the top, the numerator. Why? Because I set up my ratio where the kilogram is on the numerator. You follow? And so can I flip flop? Yeah, you can flip flop, but you have to flip flop this as well. You follow? Okay. So this will be xg. I always put the units so I don't get lost and I know what I need to put right over there. Okay. So here we go. What's the next step? We cross multiply because it's ratio and proportion. Okay. So when we cross multiply, this will be 3,000, right? And this will be x grams. Okay. It so happens that it's 1, so the answer will be 3,000 what? Grams. Okay. That's ratio and proportion. Dimensional analysis, though, There's 2 steps, by the way, 2 ways you can use for any conversion. Okay. Dimensional analysis now. Dimensional analysis. Okay. You look at the problem right away. You set it up right away. Step 1, 3 kg, right? What's the next step? You put multiplication here. And the step 2 will be go back to your conversion factor. But here's what's going to happen. You have to remember that a whole number, if you're going to change that to fraction, has an invisible 1 over here, right? And then what do you do here? Where do you put the kilograms? Where do you put the grams? Grams up, which is 1,000 grams. Kilograms at the bottom. Why? This allows us to cancel the symbol, and now we're left with grams. Can you follow? Okay. Because this is multiplication, remember multiplication of fraction, what do? Multiply all numerators, and then multiply all denominators, and then proceed to division. Can it be more elementary than how I'm doing it? Okay. But it is good, okay? So, because you're going to have this as a reference, and other people will have this as a reference, especially if they struggled in math. Let's go back. So you're going to do what? Multiply all numerators, which end up to be 3,000 grams, and the denominator is 1. You got it. And this is why I'm saying by doing ratio, proportion, or dimensional analysis, you just put an extra step that you validated that you have to multiply. Look at this. Didn't you? Difference between ratio and proportion and dimensional analysis. Ratio and proportion equals at the middle, which means you have to cross multiply. Dimensional analysis, multiplication right here at the middle, which means you have to multiply all numerators, multiply all denominators, and proceed to division. Both will come up with the same answer. You'll come up with the same answer either one you choose. Do I force you to use one over the other? No. You choose what is easier for you to understand, you're going to be more comfortable with. So dimensional analysis is very, very useful, especially for longer word problems. Right? Who likes ratio and proportion? Hands up. Who likes dimensional analysis? Hands up. Okay. Don't worry. Okay. Not one is right, the other is not right. Okay. Remember I told you one of my pharmacy professors once said, there's never a problem in pharmacy that cannot be solved using ratio and proportion. So that's your basic, that's your go-to. And to this day, 24 plus 4, 28 years later, don't do the math. I still haven't proven her wrong. Not that I want to prove her wrong because she's one of my favorite professors, but she was right. If you're lost, use ratio and proportion. Why sweat it? Okay. So the next topics, I'm not going to go over. Okay. I just wanted to highlight this because this is where most medication errors happen, especially when it comes to calculation errors. Is that clear? Yes. Happy Friday, guys.